And yeah, so we can start our live session with our friend Jessie Preston. So
Hi,
thanks a lot
Thank you.
for being here tonight with
Jessie.
us. I mean, tonight.
It's
Tonight
good to
is
be
for
here.
us. But
I'm very happy to be here. I appreciate the invite.
thank you.
Thanks
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
We are really happy because we followed your profile from a long time because we really love your stuff and
Thank you.
yeah, really traditional. So we really like it. And we would like to ask first, and when and where did you start approaching the tattoo world? And could you say if there is someone in particular, some particular person that inspired you, that made this happen in any way?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I had any specific inspiration. I didn't know anyone with tattoos. No one in my family, none of my friends, nobody had tattoos. I went to school for fine art and I studied design and printmaking. And when I finished that degree, I realized that I didn't want to have a relationship with a gallery or whatnot, and I really liked working with people instead of my computer. So I decided that I wanted to pursue tattooing. At the time, I was living in Philadelphia, but I'm from Los Angeles originally. So I decided, okay, I'm going to move back to LA and see if I can find an apprenticeship. And fortunately, within a month of me moving back to Los Angeles, my mentor opened a shop in Echo Park called El Clasico Tattoo. His name's Sal Preciado. And I basically went in and begged to clean toilets and said, okay, I'm going to take tattoo. And he was willing to take a chance on me, and so it all sort of worked out. And that was in 2006. And then I finished my apprenticeship in 2008, and shortly thereafter moved to Montreal.
Okay, nice. And yeah, I mean, so you say that you attended like fine art school. So can you? I mean, as we said, we love your style, and we would like you to talk a little bit about how did you develop it, and how did you reach your actual style, what it is, and yeah.
That's a good question also. It's a little bit tough because I feel like as artists, we're always sort of chasing our own voice. You know, we're always sort of trying to go after what we perceive is sort of the goal of our work, trying to continue to like perfect our vision of what we are as artists, as who we are as people. And so I think that sort of evolution of styles will continue, you know, until the day that I stop working or I die, I guess. I have to say that probably I had an interest in forms being sort of subtracted down to their simplest, you know, the minimal amount of lines, the minimal amount of information that you have to put into a design to make it an effective design. And so I'm always trying to do that. I would say, to speak to the difference between coming from the fine art world and tattooing. For fine art, it's about concepts, right? Everything is driven by the concept. I'm a process-oriented person, so I enjoy the process of making whatever I'm making. But there's a shift in tattooing where the client gets to tell you the idea. They come up with the concept, and there's a lot of freedom in that because then they're coming up with the concept and it's specific to them, and I get to spend time just in the process. And I really appreciate that about tattooing. It sort of simplifies that process for me, and then I get to really just focus on my client interactions and coming up with the best way to define their concept, you know, in a visual form. And that to me is sort of the challenge of coming up with a good tattoo design.
Thanks.
It's like that, like the basics of the traditional tattoos, just few lines, and then, it's really amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think also that your style is still evolving, or so you stay focused about about your style, what is right now?
I think, are you asking will my style continue to evolve, or do you feel like it's relevant to like the present time in tattooing? Yeah, I think that those two things sort of happened at the same time. I think that there was this influx of people who were not coming from a tattoo background getting into tattooing at the same time that Instagram became a thing. And those two things overlapped to create this kind of like big movement in where people weren't just the best at all different styles. They were really developing their own voice as artists and then applying that to tattooing. I would say that like my mentor did a lot of soft black and gray work, being Chicano in East LA, but then he really had a foundation of traditional stuff, and he really pushed me in that direction. And so I really was studying a lot of like, Sailor Jerry, all the old stuff. And then as I started to sort of get good at copying those things, was able to say, oh, how would I do this? How would I switch this? How can I take this design and make it my own that's specific to like my voice? And so I think that that sort of has been a natural progression for me, and it happens to coincide with a time in tattooing where a lot of people are bringing different kinds of influence into the art form, and it's really just sort of taken off in a million different directions. So it's kind of interesting to be like overlapping with this time in tattooing, because I think it's a really special and valuable time to the trade.
Yes, and I mean, starting also from this point of view, how do you feel the tattoo word changed from where you started working to now? I mean, how much do you feel this, and what is the pro? What is I mean, advantages or not that you feel?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. I would say that, I mean, wow, Instagram has changed the entire industry, I think, for the better. It gave clientele an opportunity to see what good work was and to understand that they have options when they're looking for an artist. When I was beginning to get tattooed a long time ago, we won't go into numbers, you just went to whatever shop was available to you. You went to the closest shop and you would hope for a good tattoo, but you didn't know what a good tattoo meant. It was all very abstract, and you would go in, and many of the artists that I saw, and sometimes still see, aren't super friendly and don't go out of their way to make you feel welcome and accommodated. There were many times when I walked into like shops and felt sort of dumb for wanting the thing that I wanted, or silly for asking for a specific thing. And I think that really it was an oversight of the industry at that time to take interest in what people's ideas were, and to actually be able to have a conversation with them about how to turn that idea into a good tattoo. Now with Instagram, I feel like people are able to see all of the opportunities that they can have and really see if they connect one-on-one with a specific artist. And in terms of like how it's changed the industry, I mean, it's huge, right? Like, people were really reliant on certain spaces to provide them with a clientele. And now we have direct contact with our clientele, so we can be anywhere in the world and find people that want to get work from us. That is a game changer on every level, and I think something that, like, we're all really fortunate for,
Yeah.
Yes.
Not to mention the fact that it's made us all level up our tattooing, because we can see the best designs that are happening, the best line work, the best techniques, and opportunity to see the kinds of machines that are available, and being able to just access those things is like a game changer. It helps you level up your technique 100%, and that's huge. So I'm really grateful for it, on most levels.
Thanks for this comment. Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you.
Yes.
And how is your relationship with the coil machines? Because it's our main topic, basically. Can you explain us what kind of machines you prefer and why?
Sure, I do love the coil machine, and to be honest, that's all I've ever really used up until the last year. My friend Tim Forbes, he owns Acme Tattoo in Virginia, and he did his first batch of coil machines while I was apprenticing. And he gave me, or I bought 2 or 3 machines from him, and 2 of those machines I still use to this day. So that was 15 years ago. And I used one every day for every tattoo up until like for 12 years. And like he had to change the armature bar out for me so many times because the coil was just like, I mean, like this far in, like you couldn't run it anymore because it was so melted down. So I love a good coil machine. I run my machines really high. I went through a period, I opened a shop with a friend of mine in Montreal, and it was in an old industrial building, and we got everything set up, and then I went to do my first tattoo, and I had no power. The power was surging in the building, and it was just like an awful experience. So I couldn't do tattoos there, and so I tried surge protectors, I tried all of these different electronic devices to try and help, and I reached out to Tim, who made that machine for me, and he said, try to run off of a marine battery. So I got a marine battery and a rheostat from like Lucky Supply. You can't even order it online. You have to like call and like talk to the person. And so I was running off of a marine battery for about 10 years because of this space. And I was still using Tim's coil machine. So now, because of running off of a marine battery, I run my machines at like 10 volts. And so anywhere from like 8 to 10 volts kind of all the time. I can't go slower. And so I like a coil that can keep up with me, you know?
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, is it helpful? I like Tim Forbes. I love his machines. I really love Jeremy Eichenberry. He's making great coil machines if you're looking for stuff. South State. And then I love the Dan Cuban coils, which he isn't really making, but if you're watching or you see this, make some more coil machines, Dan, because they're the best.
Yes, I would like to go a little bit to a topic that it's in the last years we heard some situations that happens sometimes in tattoo shops. It's not just only the last years, but since there is Instagram, of course, people talk a lot and about this, and it's something good that people share this adventure. I mean, these not really nice adventures. So it's sometimes clients relate about. Talk about some. Not really professional tattooers that sometimes I don't know do some harassment to their customers. Yeah. Can you comment a little bit on it, and if you had some report from your customers of anything that you may have heard of, and your thoughts about that?
I mean, I've heard a number of things, right? I think I've even bumped up against some abusers in the industry. Personally, I haven't ever encountered any issues while I was getting tattooed. I definitely have heard about many stories of sexual abusers, let alone, just physical abusers and people who are sort of mentally abusive. It's interesting because I think as an industry, it's complicated, right? We are an industry that's always been sort of self-regulated. And in doing that, it can create a safe harbor for people to cause harm, and it can also be an insulator of support, right? And so there's been times personally where I've bumped up against somebody who is an abuser that I found out about in my space, and I had to get them out of my space as quickly as possible. Some of these artists are really big on retribution and harassment. And so they create a scenario where it's scary for people to come out and to speak out about the abuse that they've suffered at the hands of some of these tattooers. But I think that overall, I've been really impressed with everyone's ability to come together and to share information about specific people and to get that word out there and not allow them to tattoo in our spaces. I believe tattooing is a sacred space, and that we're working directly with people, and our only goal should be to uplift and to support and spread love. And so I'm happy that this has become a conversation in tattooing, and that we're sort of doing the best that we can to eradicate that kind of behavior. I think it's difficult because many of these abusers will be able to continue on and create a private space and still connect with clients because of Instagram or because of their reputations. And that's a scary thing. And the only thing that we can do, as practitioners of tattooing, is to speak out about it and let people know, when it's going on.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
thanks for commenting on this. Yeah.
So another question is like, how important is for you painting and drawing? It is because basically for the traditional tattooers, it's the first approach to understand the shadings and color techniques.
Yeah. So I am awful at this. I think painting and flash and drawing is the most important thing, right? I impressed that upon my apprentice Zane, and really wholeheartedly believe that it is a great way to improve your drawing skills and have a really great understanding of how you're going to shade and how you're going to color your designs when you have them on the skin. I personally, I use an iPad for drawing merchandise designs and things that I'll put on t-shirts, or that I'll do for clients that are sort of in the illustrative realm outside of tattooing. But when it comes to tattooing, I draw strictly on paper. I feel like it ages me in saying that. And at some point I'm going to be edged out just because my knowledge is so old school, but I still really appreciate drawing and doing color studies on paper. At this point in my career, I don't have the time to paint all of my flash. However, it is a goal that I aspire to. And at some point I would love to focus on just doing like 100 designs, in a year, and have that all there. At the moment, I'm really fortunate and I'm too busy with tattoos to be able to do it. So I oftentimes will do a quick color study with colored pencil on paper if I have my design ready. Sometimes I see a lot of the people that work in my shop, they'll have their design and they'll do color studies on their iPad. I love that. I think just being prepared when you have your client sitting in the chair. One of the things that I think about when I'm tattooing is I kind of love to show my clients some options when it comes to color. So I never have a predestined direction that I'm going into. I have the design ready. I have no idea how I'm going to shade it. I have no idea what colors we're going to use. And for me, that's part of the fun. We get to have that conversation, and then I'll show some color options, they can decide, and then we go from there, So it's a little freewheeling, but it's fun.
yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, you do that a lot.
Yeah, and also for me, so a lot of people thinking about me like a dinosaur because I use coil machines, the pedal, because now it's also difficult to find someone that use the pedal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I use the pedal.
Yeah. So every time that I go for a guest or something, so people just looking at me every time that I run my machines because I'm the only one that really loud. Yeah, but I'm proud of this.
And sometimes you also design a lot on paper as well.
If I can't hear it, I don't trust it. I don't know how fast it's going. I don't know what's going on. I can't hear it.
Yeah.
And I like a little fear when it starts up,
Yeah.
Totally. So before we were also talking about something that you wanted to talk about. So you were talking about an organization.
Oh.
Yes. Can you talk a little bit more diffusely about that? And yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, people who are here have probably heard me talk about it a bunch, but we started 3 artists, myself, Olivia Brint-Wheat, and Tom Mueller, started an organization called Reform Oregon Tattooing, because here in Oregon there are tattoo schools, so people will pay usually between $10,000 and $15,000 to go to a tattoo school. The law requires that you do a certain amount of exams, and then you have a certain amount of hours that are dedicated to certain aspects of tattooing, and that you do 50 tattoos. Those 50 tattoos you can do them on yourself. They can be dots, whatever that is. And then the person, assuming that they pass the exam, are able to get licensed in this state. What we were finding was that a lot of people that were going this route didn't have the full sort of background of knowledge to feel comfortable and confident to go into our industry. And so we started this organization because we were at first concerned, thinking, oh no, maybe we need to slow the schools down so that these people are getting a better education. And what we found actually as we were sort of doing this research and talking to people that had actually gone to the schools was that they themselves were coming out and they were feeling like there was no oversight. So they were paying this money, assuming that they were going to be in a position to be a full-time tattooer and get a job anywhere, and that they were leaving and didn't feel capable or supported in that next step to transition to a shop. So what we started off as trying to limit the amount of people, we kind of recognized that it gave people access to tattooing that otherwise wouldn't have access, because maybe it was too intimidating to go into a shop to ask for an opportunity for an apprenticeship. Most people weren't offering apprenticeships. And then through schools, it made it so that so many more, like a more diverse background could go and have access to getting an education to at least get their foot in the door and then leave those schools to come on. So basically we try and put a lot of energy into trying to get the schools to do a little bit better when it comes to being able to support the students that are going there. And then on the other side, trying to get legislation changed to be able to support the students, to support tattooers and the industry, and to make sure that the exams that they're doing are peer reviewed and supported by our tattoo community at large. Because prior to these sort of organizations being formed, it was mostly bureaucrats who were making decisions for what was happening in tattooing. And as you see what's happening sort of, I think globally right now, you saw in London or England with like the laws and the inks getting regulated. I think it's really important for tattooers in different cities, in different countries around the world, to create organizations that are there to uplift the community and to engage when different legislation is trying to be passed. Because if we're not regulating our own industry and it's getting taken out of our hands, we never know where our industry can end up. So I think it's really important, and I always am trying to empower tattooers to build community and really, take on the issues that are being brought up in your local legislation, because it can impact you. And if you don't have a voice that's sort of, community-based, you never know what can happen, where these laws will take us, and how they can impact, our future as tattooers.
Yes, totally. It's a very, very nice thing that you're doing. So good luck for everything, and hopefully there will be more like you doing that. For sure.
How does tattoo mean to you now?
Oh, everything. It makes, honestly, that question made me get teary. I have goosebumps. I feel like getting tattooed is always a healing process. Obviously there are situations where, maybe it didn't work out based on the conversation we were having earlier about, toxic tattooers and abusers. But in general, I feel that tattooing and getting tattooed is a healing experience. It's empowering. It gives people an opportunity to take control of their bodies. And I always say this to, a lot of my clients ask, oh, what do you think is the difference between people who get tattoos and people who don't get tattoos? And I think that at its core, I think people who are getting tattooed in general have an understanding that this life is fleeting and that our bodies are temporary, and that we're sort of processing our mortality and our humanness, for lack of a better word. And so for all of those reasons, I think that tattoo for me means being human. It means connecting to ancestors. It means connecting to life and death and to each other. It's meant everything in terms of community. I think through my whole life, I'm an only child, and I've always felt a little bit like an outsider and a little bit of a loner. And tattooing has taught me to be connected to people. It's taught me to be compassionate and empathetic, and it's taught me to really uplift and empower the people that I'm surrounded by. And without that, I don't think I would be anything. I think I would be lost. So tattooing is everything to me.
Wow.
I really would like to thank you about your answer, because it's something that I really felt.
Yes.
Really,
Yes.
but it's an amazing answer. Really.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
Thank you.
also for me was the same, because also when you said about that you are an only child, I am as well. So I have the same feeling, and yeah, thanks a lot.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that question. I think it's important, and I think it's underestimated a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes,
right.
yes. And I mean, now what are your plans? I mean, your future. How do you see your future? It's like in terms of your actual work. I mean, your actual the place or you're working in now, or conventions, or yeah, whatever plan that you have, related or not to the tattoo world.
That's a really great question, and something sort of I'm always processing. I'm coming back from an injury, so my primary focus right now is sort of building my strength back up and kind of reasserting and reestablishing my tattoo style. I think that I'm really sort of striving for this specific look, and I'm not quite getting there. I'm always chasing that, and it feels like every time I feel like I'm getting close, it's time to do it again. You know, we always level up with our art forms. You know, having a shop in Oregon has been awesome, and I love the community that we have. I am at some point looking forward to going on a round the world trip and tattooing for a year straight, sort of everywhere I can go. And so that's my sort of like short, maybe medium to long-term goal. And I think, you know, my ultimate long-term goal is to just continue tattooing until, you know, I'm in the ground. So, you know, all of those varying degrees, getting better, perfecting my craft, and traveling more. Because I've been really like, you know, with COVID and with my injury, I've been really stuck here. And so just meeting more people and growing the community that I know.
Wow. Okay. Very nice. I mean, it's I like this this thing that you said about perfectioning and trying to reach it, and but it's never like the perfection that you want, and you always try to find something like this. And it's like a lot of it reminds me a lot of martial arts. It's like you try to find the perfect thing to do, but you never reach it, and you want to you know, the perfection is in the intention of doing it. So it's yeah, sorry, I'm romantic in this case, so
No. No, it's interesting because I feel like I'm always drawing. I've been with my partner as long as I've been tattooing, and so he's seen me sort of go through all the varying degrees of tattoo stress and drawing stress and the perfectionism. And there's been many times where I feel like I'm the worst I've ever been. And, you know, this would happen for years. I would hit these sort of roadblocks, and I would think, oh my God, this is the worst I've ever been. I'm a terrible tattooer. I'm a terrible artist. I have no vision, whatever. And he always said to me, after seeing me do this for years, he finally said to me, you know, you do this every time you level up. Every time you hate your work, it means that you accomplished what you had set out to do, and then you're getting to the next part, you know, and you're starting that process over again. And that cyclical process, I think, is at the heart of being a creative, you know? And the second that we stop trying to get to the next level is when we're dead in the water. It means we might as well just quit, you know, because we stop caring, we stop sharing the love for it. And so, you know, that awful feeling where you feel that you just are a terrible artist, it's a good feeling to have, and don't lose it, you know?
Totally. So with this, I think we can conclude our session. I really would like to thank you, and if you can just remain connected on Zoom so we can say bye to each other. And in the meantime, I would like to thank all the guys that were participating in the Instagram session, and we will be soon on the YouTube with this interview as well. So thanks a lot, guys. See you
Thank
soon.
you, and see you soon.
See you.
Thank you.